Hi friends, welcome back. It's been a while. It really has been a while. It's been a while since I recorded the last video. Oh, yes. It's been a really rough patch actually. I hide, of course, all the negative stuff and emotions because I'm not smiling. I'm smiling clearly and I'm not like, oh god, don't cry in front of the camera. Many people haven't seen me in a while, especially on social media and I think YouTube, and it's been really hectic and chaotic for the past few weeks and months, and it's coming back to some kind of a standstill or a balance. I think a lot of it had to do with it being winter. Definitely had to do with that being winter time, because I think so many things transformed and changed for me, from moving to a new apartment to getting straight on what I want in my life, from my relationships, from my friendships, from people who want to be a part of my life. And it's been quite a challenging experience, and I think many people in my life can relate to it. Hopefully you, if you're watching this, it's been quite a roller coaster. All these projects set in stone, I had this vision for myself, for my future, and then I realized, well, there are all these things I haven't done in the past, that I haven't resolved in the past, that I haven't let go of properly. And I found myself in a bit of a muddle, in a bit of a heavy situation, so to say. And I've been trying to get myself out of it, but I've been doing it in a wrong way. I've been trying to kind of push myself through this mud instead of being in the mud, instead of sitting with what is, instead of listening to my friends' complaints, but rushing into just fixing it and having solutions to this and that problem. Instead of just trusting people to have themselves and to have their lives and to understand that they can actually make it, that they can actually be okay with fixing their own problems. And in doing so, I neglected my own problems. I have always derived so much pleasure in helping other people. I don't know if you can relate to this, especially if you're a guy. But I've been really taking a lot of pride in finding solutions for other people. And that is also partially why I do the work I do. If you know me in private, then you know that my life is also tied to Airbnb and me doing Airbnb and counseling people on Airbnb and stuff like that. And it requires a lot of responsibility, because it is, in a sense, a very deep experience, because you disappoint a lot of people just because they, for example, don't feel they're emotional, or they don't feel that what you've given them was correct, or you don't give them something they were hoping for. And it played into these deepest insecurities of mine that I had about myself, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not doing things good enough, that I should just drop all this. And that is a really bad place to be at, especially if you've been building for years. So if you're building for years and your primary thought is, well, I should drop all this. All of this is just total nonsense, and I'm such a fraud. And that's often a thought for me. I'm such a fraud. And how can people ever trust me? How can people ever get to buy something from me? And then I stop for a second and I think, oh my god, like, where did this come from? Where did all this mess come from? And then I remember, okay, take a few deep breaths. And it's better. It already feels better. So if I don't just rush into acting on this emotion, rush into this chaotic event, a cascade of events I'm about to unleash just because I don't feel worthy or don't feel good enough, I would simply go on such a long tangent that I would ruin my life for myself rather than fix it. And I know you might think I'm dramatic, yeah, ruin my life, but you'd be surprised by the amount of support people are willing to offer on the one hand, and the lack of support that people are able to give on the other hand. And my fear all of my life has been, which one of these two wolves are gonna be the one eating the other? So I have this chronic fear, a big fear, of not being actually supported by a community. And it happened to me last year. I think there's more than a year that I've lost an enormous community in my life. And that was a community that was really important to me. It was a spiritual community, a lot of fun, a lot of parties, get-togethers. And at the same time, when push turned to shove, when there was an event in which my former partner basically created this group chat trying to sabotage my event, which I really loved. It was a beautiful dance. And all these things got to me in some way, because there was this disempowered self, the weak self, the vulnerable self. Vulnerability and disempowerment are not the same thing, just to make that very clear. But what I mean more specifically is I was in this state of disempowerment, which means my vulnerability would come off as disempowerment. So I basically didn't feel these people cared enough for me to, not to take my side necessarily, but to ask me what happened, to be there for me, to be supportive in the way that I was there for them, or that I thought I was there for them. And all this caused a lot of turmoil. And I couldn't even believe, well, wait a second, I'm still having this with me a year later, or almost 2 years later. It is still in my heart. It is still somewhere where it is not allowing me to, for example, deepen my relationships out of fear of community betraying me. I'm afraid of forming a community because I failed at forming a community, and then I identified with that failure, and then I realized, well, if I form another community, that community is just going to fail anyway. So why do it anyway? And that's where I made this big mistake of thinking, if I do it again, it would inevitably fail because it failed in the past. And so many of us get stuck here in this very neurotic negative loop of thoughts and negative actions, for lack of a better word, negative predictions of actions. Because what our brain does automatically, it takes the information it has and the emotions that are happening in the body and everything that's happening in the body, and it says, based on what you're feeling now, here is your predicted future, or here's the predicted trajectory of your future. And very often, when that is not good, when you're not consistently feeling good, of course that eventually your body is gonna not give up on you, but it's gonna send you the signals such as, hey, stop doing this. Don't do as much of this. Maybe go easy there, or maybe go harder here. And when you don't listen to your body, usually it doesn't end well. It didn't end well for me, because I ended up with a disease. I ended up with physical health problems that I have to this very day. And most of that is because I simply did not listen to my body and did not give my body and my environment what it needed. I was focusing constantly on this fear that was saying, okay, if you don't do this, you might not survive. If you don't do this, you might not make it the next day. You might not live to see another day, or another year, or another month. But then when I went deeper into that process, and when I asked myself, well, okay, let's say I don't make it next year. Let's say I don't really. Let's take this thought to the end. If I don't make it this year, or next year, 2024, what can I do to not be neurotic or traumatized or anxious about it? Can I accept that? Can I accept that if this really is true, if it is true that I somehow self-diagnosed with an incurable disease that will kill me in a year, hypothetically speaking, then what can I do? And there was such freedom and liberation in the answer to that, which was so logical, which was, well, just do nothing. Live an authentic and fulfilled life. Whatever that means to you. And I don't mean authentic or genuine in terms of this false spiritual, like, oh, authenticity, or you know what that means. If you are real with yourself, you know what that means. You know exactly what that means. But what I'm referring to more specifically is to do so in every moment, is to do so daily, to do so in everything that we do, to look around and see, okay, I don't like, let's say, this little thing. And do I like it like here? Oh, that was better. I like it here. And it's better that I like it here. And then why do I like it here? And what else can I look around that I can not necessarily change, but what can I give my attention to that as a response, as a natural outcome of me giving attention to it, it changes for the better. And I miraculously discovered this one beautiful thing. And that is that if I do that with my relationships, if I do that with people in my life, it moves my life forward, even if those relationships don't work out. For example, I wrote a few messages to a few of my friends, and I really missed them. I genuinely missed them and I wanted to see them and I wanted to talk to them. And I entered with that enthusiasm, like, hey, hi, how are you? It's been a while. I'm sorry for not reaching out. And I expected them to be as excited about it as I was. And they weren't. They were like, hey, hi, good to see you. We should talk. And then I haven't heard from them. And then I realized what is important here. So all emotions that I felt, what is actually important to me here? And it was, well, I reached out and I opened my heart. I opened my chest and my heart is open. And if these people decide to reach out, they will. And when they do, I'm definitely not going to be telling them, you didn't reach out when I wanted you to, because that's how you lose friends. That's how you definitely don't keep friends in your life. That is definitely not how you speak to people that you love. And instead, I focused on preparing myself for what I'm going to tell them when they respond. So I gave myself, not the benefit of the doubt, but I gave myself that luxury of imagining a positive outcome where they respond, they reply, and we have a fantastic time catching up with one another and talking about our lives and moving forward and what we can build together, reminiscing the old times and seeing where we are. Can we build something together? Because now we're adults. We're no longer teenagers or students. Nothing wrong. Like, you can be a student in 30 or 40 or 50. But what I mean is, now we're building our life. Now we're discussing things such as family. Now we're discussing things such as community. And that is an enormous responsibility. And now comes the time to filter the people who can do that and who cannot do that without detaching from them, but simply discernment. Discernment of, this person has these qualities and this is why I love them, and based on that, here's how close they are to my heart. Not how far away they are from me, but how close they are to me. And when I did that, I found myself loved. I felt loved. I felt genuinely cared for in that moment because I reached out to these people who, at their own pace, are able to meet me. And because I built that kind of life for myself where I actually have the time for people that are dear to me, I made the mistake of assuming that others have that same luxury, that others have the same possibility to, at almost any time of the day, just say, yeah, I got you, I'm available at that and that time, and we can meet. Because they don't. Because a lot of my friends, a lot of people that I know have a very strict schedule, and their lives depend on that schedule being respected. Their livelihood depends on that being in check. And having said that, I hope that this gave you an insight into your own life and into your own friendships and how you can then communicate with your friends, if that is necessary at all. And if you are searching for a community or searching for someone like-minded, reach out. Let's have a talk. Let's connect. Let's discuss important things. Let's discuss what is happening in the world. Whatever it is, let us connect and see what we can do together. And if not, to help each other or to get out of each other's way, which, as I love to say always. That was it for now. That was really it. This has been a video that has been a long time coming, and I just finally sat to record it. And thank you for watching it, of course. Please support this channel by subscribing and donating. You can find the links below. And stay safe. Really, stay well. And look after yourselves and each other. Love each other and yourself and yourselves. Bye.